Welcome to Tech Made Simplified. Today, I'm going to talk to you guys about the Sony NEX 3N. The Sony NEX 3N is a really nice, compact, mirrorless camera. I'm going to tell you about my thoughts and experience with this device. The build quality of this camera is really nice. It feels substantial in your hands, although it's really small. It has a sort of a weight to it. Shooting performance, it's not bad. It's not the fastest thing in the world. It's not as fast as like a 60D or 70D from Canon, but it's pretty fast for contrast-based autofocus. This is a 16.1 megapixel camera, so it does put out pretty high resolution, and the pictures that you take with it, it comes out really nice. Good contrast, good sharpness. ISO performance is really good, up to 3200. After that it gets pretty noisy. 6400 is still usable, but only for smaller prints, and it could go all the way up to ISO 16000, but I wouldn't suggest going up all that high. At 16,000, there's way too much color noise and too much grain to do any good prints with. Maybe the highest part would probably be ISO 12,800. The 16 through 50 millimeter lens, kit lens that comes with this camera, although it's okay, and you can use the zoom rocker built right next to the shutter button on this camera to zoom in and out. The pictures look okay. On the corners it's kind of blurry. In the center is okay, but at 16 millimeters, which is its widest end, it gives you the least performance. The least performance in terms of sharpness. You have to really stop the aperture down to at least 4 to 5.6 for it to actually clear up and give you pretty sharp images. Like what I said earlier, this camera could shoot 16.1 megapixel photos. Also, it could take 1080p movies. The frame rate that you could shoot with in video mode is 60i at 1080p or 1080p at 24 frames per second, and that's progressive, while 60 is interlaced. The video quality, although it's really good and is better than any camcorder on the market, any consumer camcorder, due to the bigger size sensor, sometimes the autofocus doesn't really get it right, so you kind of have that in and out kind of focus, and it's trying to really hunt for the focus. But when it locks onto the focus, it's pretty sharp and there's not much noise in the image. What gives it the most trouble is when you go from a light room, a room that has a lot of light or has a pretty bright light source, and then you go into a darker room. That's when the autofocus has a really hard time locking onto a focus, and you might get like a blurry video for at least like 1 or 2 seconds. Next, I'll show you guys the menu system. In the menu section, there's only 6 different places or categories that you can go into. The first one is just pretty much your shooting modes, your program mode, aperture priority, shutter priority, full manual, panorama, scene mode, intelligent auto, superior auto, and back to program auto. And then the next menu is your camera settings. This is where you could do a couple adjustments for the drive mode, for you to continue shooting, single shooting, high speed burst shooting, timer, the next one is flash mode. You can change your flash mode, autofocus, manual focus switch, face detection, this next menu is for adjusting your image size, resolution, the highest setting 16.1 megapixels. Pick your aspect ratio, overall quality. This is where you could select to shoot raw plus JPEG, fine, normal mode, normal. Oops. This is also where you could pick your movie quality. These are all the different qualities that you can shoot in. You can also shoot in I think AVI, but then it's only at 720p. This next one, this next menu, is where you could do your exposure settings, compensation, ISO, white balance. This is where you could pick your picture effects, and this is where you pick your style of how you want your photo to look like. You go in here and you can actually change these settings by pressing the soft button on the bottom of the camera. Then you go in here and change this contrast, saturation, and the sharpness. This next one's just playback options. This one's actually your settings. This is where you can adjust your screen brightness and pretty much your clock, date and time, and how the USB, when you connect it to USB, what it does. You can put it to auto, leave it on auto. You can see your which version of your firmware. File numbering. This is the top of the menu. You could either choose to leave this on auto, or you could turn it off. This is where auto exposure lock with the shutter. So this is where when you're ready to take a picture, when you turn it on, when you leave this on, I think it's on by default. If you leave it on, and when you lock focus, the exposure will lock also. I usually leave it off because when you're panning your camera, when you have a focus lock, you pan your camera, the exposure could compensate, could change up and down according to the light. It's the autofocus illumination light. For some strange reason, Sony has chosen for the light to be red, so it gets pretty annoying. Red eye reduction, live view display, where you could choose this. Self timer for portrait. This option right here, when you turn it on, when you flip, because the screen in the back could flip 180 degrees. Right when you put it to the 180 degrees, it'll automatically set like a 3-second timer for you to take a self-portrait. This is manual focus assist. When you turn it on, when you turn off the autofocus, right when you turn the focus ring on the lens, it'll magnify your image for you to get the right focus, to get it sharp. And then autofocus assist time. So when you're adjusting your focus, it doesn't go back. It doesn't magnify back until you hold the shutter button. You press the shutter button. You could choose for it to never go back, or a couple seconds. It just goes back to seeing the whole image instead of just being magnified. Color space, 2 options: Adobe RGB and sRGB. Steady shot. This is important right here. This is image stabilization. This option right here, release without the lens. This option is really important for if you want to use other type of lenses like Canon lenses or Nikon lenses, and you buy the like a converter adapter to snap onto the front of your camera to use different kind of lenses like Canon or Nikon. And if you don't turn this on, if you don't enable this, it won't, when you try to take a picture, it will just stop you right there and tell you to that it's not communicating with the lens. So you have to enable it so you could use other kind of adapters with different lenses. Long exposure noise reduction. This is when you take night shots or night photo, and with long exposures, and it reduces the noise. This is the noise reduction. It only has 2 options, normal and low. I wish I had like at least 3-4 options, or an option to turn it off. I used to have a Canon 50D, and they gave you at least 4 options: a off, low, medium, or high. Well, it is to be seen because this is a low entry-level camera. Lens compensation. Lens compensation. These are for to correct the imperfection of the lens. So if it has vignette or chromatic aberration, then it'll correct it, minimize it. Face priority tracking. This is the option to turn off the audio when you're recording. Then wind noise reduction. You should leave this off, because from what I've seen, when you go when there's like a lot of noise, a lot of wind outside, it actually cut some of the frequencies that actually has good detail that you want in there, like the tone of your voice or something. So I suggest you to just leave it off. You can leave it on too if you want. This right here, main settings. This is really important right here. Actually, no, not that one. Main settings, although it's not highlighted right now, is really important because it enables you to leave off where you're at inside the menu system. So it's pretty nice. Actually, no, it's not that one. It's menu start right here. Yeah, they turn it on, off, on, I guess. Movie button. This, I guess they made this option because people were complaining that they accidentally pressed the record button. So you could choose to disable the button and turn it back on whenever you need to record video. You could turn it on or off so you don't accidentally press it. I don't see an issue with this camera. This camera won't have any issues of you pressing it because the button is kind of indented in, so you have to actually really press it down for it to record. Custom key. This is pretty neat right here because you could although there's not much options, there's two buttons that you could set your settings. So I got mine to ISO and one for the flash mode. This is for the soft button and this is for the right button on the mode dial. There's you could go up, down, left, and right, but the up, down, and the up, left, and down is already automatically set, and you only have the option for the right arrow, and it's automatically set to ISO. But the soft button you could set it to different settings. I just set it to flash because then I could toggle through the flash options. But there's many different options right here. This is to control the beep. So if you think you feel like the beeping noise is annoying, you can turn it off. You choose your language, date and time. Power saving mode. This is where you could choose your LED brightness. And then this is the automatic brightness adjusting. I guess the camera will automatically adjust to get brighter when you go outside. And you could either choose auto or manual. I chose manual because I need the screen to be like super bright. Display color. You could choose the background. This is the different option to change the background. There's 4 options. Leave it on black. Save a little bit battery life. Wide image. I don't know what wide image is yet. HDMI resolution. This is a good feature because you could actually choose which resolution, or you could leave it on auto because this camera has an HDMI port, a mini micro HDMI port, and once you plug that into your TV, it'll actually display the image, not just go straight to playback. Like certain cameras, I've read that it automatically just goes to playback and you can't do a live view shooting. But this camera, you can actually do live view shooting. So what live view shooting is pretty much this. I could if I take off the lens cap, you can see that I could hook this up to the monitor like a TV, and snap photos. Let's go back into the menu. Control for HDMI. This is when you enable it. If you plug your camera up to your TV through the HDMI port, it'll automatically switch over to your camera, or to the input of where your camera is hooked onto, and then it automatically switch to that input and just show your image. Oh, new folder. You could actually create new folders to put your images in, I guess. And this is also where you could format your memory card also. I think I passed it already. Yeah, right here. This is where you could format your memory card. And that's pretty much it for the menu system. This camera is actually a really good value. But the time when I bought this camera, it was on sale on Amazon for $289. I thought that was a really good deal. That's why I bought it. After tax and everything, shipping, it was only $300. Right now, as of now, of the filming of this video, the price has gone up to $349 or $350. It's a really good value for the pictures that it takes. The pictures that comes out is really nice. It's better than any point and shoot out there. Considering if you buy a better lens, but for the price of $300, you can't find a point and shoot that shoots anything better. They actually have Amazon actually has the Canon PowerShot S110 for about $230, but I mean that's pretty good value if you want something that's really pocketable and gets decent image quality. But it's nothing compared to what the Sony NEX 3N could do. Like what I said earlier, the ISO performance is really good, even up to 6400. 3200 is probably the highest I want to go, but 6400 is still acceptable for people. Video quality is decent. It's really good. Like what I said earlier, it's really good. Just the autofocus is sort of slow. For contrast base, it's really fast though compared to what Canon and Nikon is doing on the DSLRs. It's much faster, and it actually focuses really quick compared to what the other competitors does, except for Olympus. Olympus is quick too, but it's also micro four thirds. This camera's sensor is the same size sensor as in a regular DSLR, like the Nikon D7100 or D7000. It's an aps-c size, so it's fairly big, and that's the reason why the images comes out really good, and the ISO performance is really good. I really like this camera. It shoots really good photos. I'm gonna upgrade to different lenses. Maybe get one of those adapters for Canon lenses that has autofocus capabilities, and then put a Canon lens on there, and maybe like a pancake lens, a 40mm f2.8 STM pancake lens on there, and shoot really sharp images. This kit lens is not too bad. I mean, you get that zoom capability, and it's I mean, pretty small, pretty compact, but sometimes the pictures just doesn't come out really good. Just in the corners, the center resolution is fine, center sharpness is fine. The thing that I dislike the most about this camera is just the options that they give you. There's just not much options that they give you in not much customizations either. The options that they give you it's not really there compared to like a DSLR, like a 70D or 60D. I know those cameras are way more expensive, but I mean, I came from a 50D, so the 50D has a lot more options for the photo side, because the Canon 50D did not have video capability. So, but on the photo side, the Canon 50D had way more options. One feature that this camera is missing is an ISO cap and a shutter cap, or a minimum shutter cap. What I mean by this is that it automatically chooses for you when, although you're in like one of the manual or like semi-manual modes, like aperture priority or shutter priority. They don't give you the option to set like a minimum acceptable shutter speed that you want, or kind of like a maximum aperture that you want, or either that the ISO is the most important one, where they don't let you choose a maximum ISO setting. Like, this thing defaults to the highest 32 on auto, so pretty much you could choose your own ISO setting, but then the thing is that you actually have to press the button and do it. So usually when you're going to take a picture, photos of like your children, and you're running around trying to take their photos, you don't want to keep on changing the settings. So I usually use auto, and auto on this camera automatically maxes off at 3200 ISO. I would like it for it to go to 6400 in low lit rooms, so you can actually get like a faster shutter speed. And plus the shutter speed, it kind of goes down, and you can't pick the option to go minimum of 1/60 of a second. It actually goes way lower than that. It goes all the way down to like 1 second or something like that, depending on the lighting. And 3200 sometimes is not enough, and I would like the option to at least give you like a ISO cap of 6400. In the video settings, setting wise, there's no option to go over 3200 ISO. So the 32 ISO is the highest that you could actually manually pick in the video mode when you're shooting video. You could put the option auto, and it seems like auto actually goes over 3200 sometimes, depending on the lighting, but you can't manually pick over 3200. It goes from 200 to 3200 only, and the 6400, 12800, and 16000 ISO is not highlighted, and it's not usable. You can't use it in video mode, which is a shame. I mean, I would like it for it to actually give the option, so you can actually in low lit rooms you can actually use it with actually giving you more noise, but actually giving you an option to actually give you brighter light, a brighter image. Another thing that I really like about this camera is the micro HDMI option. When you hook it up, it's really nice because it actually gives you the live shooting. So if you're gonna use this to hook up to your TV, and you could either preview your photos, or you could actually display an image on there, use it to frame your subjects. So it's actually really nice. I've read on the internet that even some cameras don't have this option, and I was afraid that this camera didn't have the option, but I'm glad that it does. Alright, before this video comes to an end, I'll give you a close look around the camera, the lens. This is a rocker switch right here to zoom. This side, there's the ports. Micro USB on top, right here. Your SD card goes in here. The big open area here. Your SD card goes in here. And then the micro HDMI is on the bottom. See, the screen goes 180 degrees all the way up like that. Too bad I can't tilt though. And this side has a thumb rest right here. And then the menu buttons right here. It also acts as the back button when you're inside the menu. And then the OK button in the center. The mode dial right here. The dial right here. And it also clicks up, down, left, and right. And when you take this camera out of the box on the semi-auto modes, like aperture priority and shutter priority, and then manual mode, the right is defaulted to ISO. You could change it. And then down is exposure compensation. And then the left, when you click it left, is the drive mode, where you could pick your single shot, continuous shooting, high speed shooting, and other things. And then up is for display, so it would toggle through the displays of your screen. Here, I'll show you. Okay. Oh shit. Okay. Okay, the mode dial on the dial. You press right to toggle through ISO. Go up, it's the displays. You toggle through the displays. Left, drive mode, self timer, back, and then the soft button, which is down here, I switched it to, like I said earlier, self timer. I mean, not self timer, flash mode. So you can toggle through the different flash modes. And then on top, oh wait, no, there's another button right here. The record button. See how I told you it's kind of like recessed in, or kind of indented in. You won't have any problem not pressing this button. You can't press it. You have to actually kind of dig in there and press it. So it's kind of really in there. It's the record button, and you could record in any mode. Yeah. And then this is the playback button, the shutter button. The shutter button it feels kind of mushy. Just might be my model that I have. It's kind of mushy, and sometimes you kind of press it and then it won't lock focus. Other than that, it's not bad. And then there's the rocker switch, and I believe this is the first camera that come with this. The rocker switch for this type of camera, the mirrorless camera, to have this feature to zoom in and out. If you're not using the newer kind of lenses, like the power zoom lenses, then it'll default as this switch of this rocker will default as digital zoom. So that sort of sucks. And then on this side is nothing. And then back into the front, and this is where they're release latch for the lens. You hold it in and you twist to release the lens. And that's it. Thanks for watching my video. I'll see you guys next time.